So I'm going to talk about the tundra. I want you to know that it's a barren or treeless land. That means there's very little life in this area. It is almost like a lifeless ecosystem. Every once in a while, you will see a couple of plants, but very rarely you'll see any form of tree life because trees really don't grow there. There's two types, Arctic and Alpine. The Alpine is going to be the tippy top of the tundra, and it's like the high tops of mountains, and there's very little growth, if any, at all in that area. So basically, I'm going to focus on the Arctic tundra. It's very cold in the tundra. Temperatures rarely reach 10 degrees, so at the majority of the time, it's going to be below zero. And there's limited rainfall, just like in the desert. They really consider the tundra almost like a cold desert. It's dry, cold, and something really important about the tundra is that it's very windy. And even though that's not really part of climate, but there's so much wind that there's a lot of adaptations between plants and animals due to this very cold and windy climate. So it's so cold in the tundra that the soil is actually frozen. This is called permafrost. We consider the tundra soil very poor because the majority of the year it's actually ice, a thick layer of ice. And this ice only melts in summertime. Now a little bit more because of climate change, but in the summertime, this is where organisms will actually obtain their water and plants obtain their water. Because since there's limited rainfall, it's just like a desert, almost less than 25 centimeters of rain a year. They get their rain from the melting of the permafrost. Because of the harsh, cold, and windy weather, plants will grow really close to the ground to obtain heat and to try to obtain water or send their roots down, just like mesquite plants. Some plants in the tundra will do that. Others will be really close to the top layer, just basically to withstand this cold. It's like a dwarf plant that just grows that way to handle the cold and windy climate. They also have to have an ability to retain water because they don't get water often enough because of the limited rainfall. If it does rain, and I keep mentioning the word rain, when it falls when precipitation falls, it's going to fall as snow. Animals, they're limited. There's going to be very few predators, mostly herbivores, but the key here is that animals are going to have white, thick fur, or birds will have thick feathers, and they're going to migrate and hibernate and burrow, anything to avoid these harsh winter conditions. One of the biggest problems in the tundra is the fact that they've struck oil. And in order to get the oil that they drill at the tundra, they have to create these pipelines. And you're seeing a picture of a pipeline across the tundra because the tundra is such a fragile biome because the cold weather prevents decomposition from occurring. Anything you do to this biome is kind of irreversible because there's going to be limited regeneration. But one of the key things these pipelines are causing is problems to the migration of animals that are trying to avoid the harsh winters. It's going to affect vegetation and regeneration, like I said, and any oil spill is going to have long-term effect on the biome because, again, they can't really recover from changes. So when this permafrost melts, inside of it is large amounts of carbon dioxide and methane. Because of climate change, so we know that climate determines a biome or one from another, but in this particular biome, because of climate change, permafrost is melting faster. So it's not just melting in the summer, it's melting in other times of the year. And that causes the release of these carbon dioxide and methane gases, which are greenhouse gases. This is going to lead to more warming of the earth, more melting of the permafrost, more release of greenhouse gases, and this is what we call a positive feedback loop.